Tony's great grandfather was the first governor of Western Australia, and his great 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 was the first. What is it? We had the Prime Minister, Walpole.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, quite a history there, isn't
Yeah,
it?
he's got a hang of this. He's been doing it with him. Yeah.
And he was telling me that you built the second cafe up there on Albury Hill.
Yeah. What was it we got? Oh, we took a big explore shed down somewhere, and then we took the floor out of what was the cinema here. We built a cafe. They were always doing something. Tony's his uncle. His uncle was a little chubby farmer. And he was funny. What I used to go, I would say, what, like what. But he was always doing. He had to be doing something, you know. And he was that. A lot of his sayings and things. I used to kill myself laughing at him. You know,
The right character.
Yeah.
So when you were building this cafe, it was like sort of not doing it on the cheap, but you were utilising other things, weren't you?
Some of the land they had to Paul. There was some them real big Canadian sheds what come over to keep troops in. And we sort of cut it into slices, put it on various things and got it to Albury and then put it all together. And there was a building here, the cinema, and it had been a level dance floor in it. Then they'd put a floor on an angle, a picture house. So we had to somehow take this floor out and cart it in big beds and used as the floor in this place.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So when was that you did that?
1960 something. Yeah, 1960 odd.
Oh, fascinating.
Because it's gone in. Did it fire that? I don't know, it fired. Oh, the sea got it. It's only in there now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they used it as a bingo and all sorts. They sort of kept going. Tony used to do a set of steps down there.
That's right, he was telling me about that.
Yeah,
Then
the council started, you'll be responsible.
Oh, good old health and safety.
Yeah, if you'll do that.
Shall we, as a complete, imagine I know very little, know nothing about the cobble boat. If you could tell me what's unique about it, how it came to be, why it is like it is. Don't worry about the camera, just talk to me and I'll nod to you. So whenever you're ready.
Right. We'll go.
Yeah.
A cobble is a boat which has developed over the last 1,000 years along the Yorkshire coast from the Scottish border down to Spurn, and it's held the whole county together as far as fishing goes over that period. It's a boat which was developed for launching off the beach. It had to be built very simply with local stuff. It had to work and it had to be light enough to be pushed down the beach. So 3 men would push a 26-foot boat down the beach, and it had to be sailed. So it had those features, and it had to work because they had to earn a living. There was no dole or anything like that. If you didn't go to sea, you didn't eat. It was as simple as that, and it had to be done usually 3 men to a boat, 2 men and a boy to a boat. If you had any more, it was another share. The catch got shared by another one, so they took the least men possible for the cobbles.
So apart from the flat bottom, there were other unique design features of it, weren't there, that you were telling me about?
Yeah, they had to obviously float in very little water because you was pushing it off the beach. They had to go out through the surf in some fairly hefty seas. So they had a very, very big bow on them, big pointed bow, to get them through. And the bow also acted as a keel for sailing. and they had a deeper rudder what you dropped on when you got to sea, and they would sail, but they would get caught out in all sorts of gales, because if you work it out this coast, you have nowhere to run. If you say up in the Scottish Islands, you go behind an island. We have no islands. When that northerly wind blows, and it can come up very quick, so there had to be good sea boats to stand that. And they were built very simply built.
Because you've been involved. You've built cobbles, haven't you?
Yes, built quite a few. Yeah. And they were just built with larch planks, big wide wood planks, riveted together, and then ribbed out with natural bends of oak. You just got an oak tree, cut all the bends out whereabouts you wanted them, and they're just fastened together.
So how long would it take you to make a cobble boat?
A 26-foot one on your own. This is with modern machinery, like a planing machine and a saw. You plank one up within a week, and it takes you about another 2 to 3 weeks to rib it out. And you've got a simple boat that works.
Yeah. And you've recently restored one. Are there many about anymore?
No, the cobbles, obviously sailing cobbles. They were all sailing cobbles pre-First World War. And then as soon as the First World War came in, engines started to creep in, and they started popping engines in them. And the shape changed quite a bit as you got bigger engines, more powerful engines. But the original ones, you had about 5 different types of cobble. You had your little beach boat. You had a little one what you could just row out and a few crab pots and in again. You had up to your 26-foot one, which was the usual one what they went off in, and then you got to what's called key cobble. Basically, it's up to about 40 foot, which worked out of a quay, out of Bridlington, out of a port. And then you had the herring boats, which is a big double-ended cobble, and they used to go and chase the herrings, meet them early September up north, and they used to just follow them right the way down the coast to Lowestoft, from Whitby to Lowestoft, and then they just laid the boat up for the rest of the year.
So you were talking there about herring, and that sort of brings me on to, you're also explaining about about the seeding of the lobster. How has fishing changed in this area in terms of what the catch and so on over the last, I don't know, 50 years, 100 years, whatever?
Well, fishing, basically they had to work out what was in the sea and what they could get, and they would either chase crabs. If you're right up the beach, you can get Dover soles, which is one of the best money fish there is. In winter, you get a lot of cod. When the frost come in, you get a lot of big cod come in. But they worked it basically by the season. You know, Good Friday, I would say Good Friday, you start crabbing, and for the first 2-3 months, you crabbed, and then crabs were fairly well up the beach at Easter, and then gradually they would work their way out, feeding and breeding, and when you got a bit further out, you got a few lobsters with them. But during the 1970s, they decided to seed them, and so they got millions of little 1/4-inch lobsters and popped them into the sea, and they've never looked back since. It's just been full of lobsters, because lobsters are good money.
So is that pretty well what is fish now? Is there any whitefish or sailfish nowadays?
It's mainly what's fished, and I think it's a bit silly. They chase lobsters and crabs all year now. They don't give them a chance to breed, and because they're using bigger boats, so they can go further out. You've got power on the boats, so you can pull big pots in. You can bring thousands of pots in, whereas when you did it by hand, you worked to about 200 pots. Now they'll work up to 3,000 big pots, because they have power to do it, and a lot bigger boats, so they could sit out there if it blows a gale.
Yeah, huge.
You don't have to run.
Okay, that's great. Just thinking there. We were talking a lot about the coastal erosion. What changes have you seen to the coast in your lifetime here? You know, up and down the coast.
Well, I started measuring it. I have a book which tells you from 1786 various measurements, and I took measurements in the 1960s, and it keeps averaging about 5 foot a year. Sometimes a big lump goes, and then it'll go easy for a year or two, and then another big lump goes. Depends on lots of things. Well, how dry the cliff is, because it'll crack because it's boulder clay. And then if you look at a lot of rain, it expands and it pushes down, and the tide swills the bottom of the cliff away, and when it takes the bottom of the cliff, clay will stand something like 60 degrees, but as soon as it gets above that, it slides down, and that piece goes, because the clay just melts away, as it were, into silt, and goes.
So what would you say, because obviously some areas have been protected and others haven't?
Yeah, Hornsey's been protected, and they put breakwaters in, and it protects it, obviously, sea walls. It slides past here, but usually when it gets past one of these places, it then starts to eat to the south of it. It starts to eat it away in bays, and if you look at Hornsey actually sticks out to sea now. If you stand at the north end of Hornsey, you can look inside the marina tile, and you can see a bay of cliffs to the south. So Hornsey is sticking out, whereas it was in a bay. It was in a bay itself. Now there's a bay either side of it. I think what ought to happen, you ought to get these like big concrete 3-dimensional blocks, and start off at further up near Bridlington. There's a real shallow place around the head, and if you put these big blocks, because there's hardly any depth of water there, you don't realise, you look out and you think it's the sea, but say 3 miles out is about 3 fathoms, which is 18 foot. It's only 18 foot of water at low tide, which isn't a lot. That's at 3 miles. So if you started up at the north and you just made these blocks, cast them in Bridlington Harbour, something like that, and just bring them and put them in right the way down the coast, you would land up with a wall. It would start building up behind it where the old, presumably Romans was, but you'd have this superb piece of water on the inside between this defence and the cliff, and you would have something, a lot of good water slowly moving with the tides, and fish farming's got to come, you know, and it would be just an ideal place, and you'd have a giant water sports. You'd have 30 odd miles of water sports.
So would that wall sort of ease the effect of the tide on the coast? Is that the idea of it?
It would form a new coastal wall for the sea to go down, and it would stay calm between that wall and the cliffs as they are now.
So what's stopping that being done, do you think?
They don't seem to think as big as that. Because they always seem to think that you put a piece of wall up. Well, if you put a piece of wall up on the cliff, right, you just protect that bit of land. But you don't make anything new out of the money you've spent. If it was further out, you would have that superb piece of water to work on. And you could start it up at the top end, and you could do it gradually. Work your way down from off Skipser there, right the way down, and it would be superb for lobsters and crabs amongst it, and see. Well, as I say, that they've got to start farming fish. When they started farming things like salmon, and look at salmon. It was one of the dearest fish, and it's cheaper than cod now.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of the fish to buy, is it?
Well, yeah, because it's good and it's cheap, but it
So
wasn't.
What do you think will happen though in reality? I mean,
They'll keep talking about it. They'll have a meeting every year and another survey, and they'll pay another kind of little people to come and tell you that it's moving back, it's washing away. But if they don't, once East Riding slopes backwards, so once you get further back, you're going to land up with problems because it's going to go quick, and the South Eldons will go. And if all that lot just starts to swill away, well, you're going to have Doncaster by Sea for a holiday resort, something like that.
because in the short time I've been looking into this, there's a big disparity between how different communities feel. Because obviously Hornsey probably feels secure because they've got the sea divested, but down at Aldborough, it's a different world altogether, isn't it?
Well, it's an accepted thing that, you should realise if you buy a house 20 yards from the sea at Aldborough, in 4 years' time it's going to be in the sea. I mean, it's sort of common knowledge that it goes back.
But the village itself, even the bit that's inshore, feels a bit abandoned, doesn't it? I think, in so much that nothing's been done to the area.
No, nothing's been done because it's too big a lump. You've got 30 some miles of coastline wants protecting.
Yeah.
But if you said to somebody, right, do you want a square mile of usable seawater? I think they're prepared to put a wall on the outside, prepared to pay for a wall on the outside, if they had the rights to that. So it would make it into a commercial proposition. It would be a big lump to do, but it'd be fairly simple to do. Because there's a lot of countries when you go to them, and they've got these three-dimensional blocks, them like a cogwheel. And when you drop them on top of each other, they lock into each other and they won't move. And you would sort of start off with so many barges, fill them up with concrete, come down, tip them out, go back, and
isn't that something that's part of the problem around Gibraltar? Is they've done something with a barrier around that, haven't they, or something? I don't know if that's anything like it, but
there's something naughty going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know in other places they put down old tyres and things to create coral. I know that wouldn't happen here, but it
they've got to start here. That stupid idea. Put tyres in and just go to the bottom and get sandblasted. It'll just form a black smudge, and you'll land up with a lot of sharp wire.
Yes, of course. Yeah, concrete obviously the best.
Yeah, concrete. Obviously, well, you could do it with concrete on the outside and put natural stone, big blocks of natural stone on the inside, provided you got the weight, because the wall will be going the same way as the water goes. The water moves downwards all the time. It's not like doing a thing flat onto water.
Yeah.
It's guiding the water around.
Right,
okay. So but when it'll happen, I don't know. But I say they'll probably do it or try to do it when it's too late. When sperm goes, you see, if sperm goes, you land up with a real problem because it's about 4 miles now. But if sperm goes, and the sea gets in there, the mouth of the Humber is only going to be something like 9 miles wide, and you're going to have the same amount of water coming out of it. So it can have no depth. You aren't going to get any shipping up it.
Could you explain to me that's the northern bank of the Humber? That's reclaimed land, isn't it? What's that area called? How did they reclaim that? You were telling me about that, weren't you?
It comes down the top, eddies round, and then they Sunk Island, they call it Sunk Island. Yeah, that's just basically mud. as it comes round, and it's done that. If you go down to the bank, you'll see for miles, a few miles in, it's dead flat land, and it's that's all been reclaimed.
But that was in a time, that was a long time ago as well, wasn't it? It's not sort of modern times.
Reclaim it. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Unless there's anything else you want to particularly cover.
No. It's just there was strange saying. They say, "Oh, the land isn't worth protecting." But the land isn't worth protecting because it's washing away.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a like catch-22 situation. If you protected it, it'd be worth something.
It is worth something. You know, land is. There's only one lot of land, isn't there?
Well, talking to Tony on Sunday, he was, telling me the calculation of how much goes every year and the cumulative effect of that down the coastline of lost food production is phenomenal over a 25-year period. It's
it is.
Hundreds of acres.
And further down the wilderness there, some superb land for growing. So why not try and protect it?
I don't know.
Yeah. You see some of the stuff like Tony's got, you start with big machinery and things, you want nice big flat fields, to do it.
Yeah.
And to get big flat fields get very productive.
Easy to work.
Do you want food? You've got more people coming, do you want food?